Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a great show, as always, for you on a Friday with Amber in the building. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We've got the navy blue crew.
Oh, yeah. We look like we're matching. Every time I tell Robbie that he and I are matching, he thinks I'm joking on him, but like, we really are matching.
Yeah.
Like, you guys are trying to make up some weird matching thing.
He's so jealous.
We just have that coordination.
Coming up on Rising, we'll discuss the latest on the congressional shutdown fight and the healthcare funding battle.
Plus, President Trump's administration is telling Congress that it's determined the U.S. is in an armed conflict with drug cartels.
And a judge rejected Kilmar Abrego Garcia's asylum bid to reopen that case, meaning his chances of deportation have risen. But first, Lindsay, what are you seeing through your lens?
We are talking about Project 2025. So here's the thing about Donald Trump and Project 2025. He told the American people one thing on the campaign trail, and now he's doing the exact opposite in office. Flashback to the 2024 election. Trump was repeatedly asked about Project 2025, a 900-page conservative blueprint written by some of his closest allies. It outlined a sweeping agenda, slashing federal agencies, expanding executive power, banning abortion medication, gutting civil rights enforcement, deporting immigrants on a massive scale, and even politicizing the census. In short, it was a roadmap for remaking American life. But Trump wanted no part of it publicly. On stage in a debate with Kamala Harris, he insisted, quote, "I have nothing to do with Project 2025. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it. Purposely, I'm not going to read it." That was his line. And on June 5th, 2024, he doubled down even harder, writing on Truth Social, quote, "I know nothing about Project 2025. I have no idea who is behind it. I disagree with some of the things they're saying, and some of the things they're saying are absolutely ridiculous and abysmal." Fast forward a little over a year later, and the oxymoron is glaring. Yesterday, that same Truth Social account, Trump bragged, quote, "I have a meeting today with Russ Vought of Project 2025 fame to determine which of the many Democrat agencies, most of which are a political scam, he recommends be cut." That's not just a casual mention. Russ Vought isn't a random advisor. He helped build Project 2025 at the Heritage Foundation. He literally wrote parts of it. And now he's advising Trump in the middle of a government shutdown on which agencies to axe. So let's be clear. Trump went from saying he had no idea who was behind it to handing the pen to the architects. That's not strategy, that's fraud. He lied to the voters on the campaign trail, and he's hoping people won't notice now that he's in power. And what's at stake here isn't just political gamesmanship. If implemented, Project 2025 would disrupt nearly every part of American life: healthcare, education, retirement, security, civil rights, reproductive freedom. Harris put it plainly when she responded to Trump's gloating, quote, "This was always the plan. Project 2025 was always Trump's blueprint to seize unchecked power within the federal government and restrict Americans' freedoms. And he's implementing it right in front of our eyes." So here's my lens. Trump isn't just flirting with Project 2025 anymore, he's marrying it. And the honeymoon phase means slashing agencies, gutting rights, and reshaping government around his will. He told Americans he had, quote, "nothing to do with it," but today, Project 2025 is literally his agenda. And if you're not paying attention, that lie could cost you more than just trust in a politician. It could cost you your freedoms.
All right. Interesting stuff today, Lindsay.
Okay.
Obviously, the shutdown
Shutdown is going to be a bigger conversation. We're going to talk about
Absolutely.
this. Yeah.
Look, I think the tweet, or the Truth Social post, rather, where he says of Project 2025 fame is an obvious troll job to really bait Democrats into talking about Project 2025, which is exactly what's happened. And I would point out that he said on the campaign trail, "I like some of the things in it. I don't like some of the other things in it." And we saw precisely that this week with this Russ Vought memo regarding what they're going to do during the shutdown. That was something that Trump apparently liked. But then on the abortion medication, we actually saw the FDA in the aftermath of what they promised was going to be a review of the safety of mifepristone, actually approved a new generic version of that drug for public consumption. So that was apparently something that Trump didn't like in Project 2025. So it seems to me perfectly consistent with what he said on the campaign trail.
Well, I think saying I haven't read it, he doesn't know the architects. He knew them well. I mean, some of them have positions in the administration. And I think when you talk about the idea that overall, what people were most alarmed about Project 2025 was the consolidation of a lot of the power to the president. And we've seen that multiple times in the last 9 months. He's tried to skip over Congress or made something an executive order or, move forward in ways that, to me, based on American history, are not the most presidential of strategies. That's why we have 3 branches of government. I think that people should be alarmed with the amount that he insisted. He hadn't even read the thing or known the architects, but he knew them very well. And so it's just like nobody wants a liar to be their president. And that is just a lie. It doesn't matter if you liked a little bit of it, you liked a lot of it. How do you know about it if you haven't read it? What parts do you not like? That's all I'm saying, like the integrity of it all. To blatantly pretend when every journalist pretty much understood what was there. All the Democrats understood what was there. And I agree with Robbie. Everyone made it like this boogeyman. Oh my God, it's really conservative policy that's explained in way too many pages. But then there's so much more in there that's overextending in ways that traditional conservatives maybe didn't. And so I think that it just needs to be acknowledged that that was on your agenda when you're campaigning, so people would know what they're getting, because you're kind of distancing yourself from it, but you haven't read it, but now we know you read it, and these are some of your friends, and so it's like, what's the plan here?
Based on people that I spoke to close to the campaign and on the campaign during the election, his frustration actually with the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025 was real, and it was not something that he was interested in becoming his platform. Obviously, there's going to be things that he agrees with because, as you mentioned, a lot of it is sort of standard bearer conservative policy. But at the time, I think it was actually sincere that he did not want this to be his campaign promises because it wasn't entirely consistent with what he was running on. Abortion, again, is a perfect example of that. He is much more moderate on abortion than anything in Project 2025. And there was actually, he was toying with the idea of not hiring anyone for his admin from the Heritage Foundation because he was frustrated with them for trying to make it out like this was Trump's plan when he had no hand in creating it. So naturally, the conservative movement in DC is fairly small. People who wrote forwards for books or wrote policy portions of Project 2025 were sort of inevitably going to end up in the administration. But I can tell you that I think it, not permanently, but did a lot of long-term damage to Trump's relationship with the Heritage Foundation. And we saw him have a much closer relationship with America First Policy Institute because of it.
So I want to go back to something that you said earlier. You mentioned that President Trump might be doing this to try to egg on Democrats to join the conversation.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Right. So I hadn't even thought about that. So that's a great point to bring up. And if they're falling into that, so what are the next steps? Because I know this was like such a boogeyman that if the American public, the same people you're trying to save healthcare for, according to Democrats, are seeing that Project 2025 boogeyman is coming back in full effect with the architect now making decisions, which one is scarier, losing healthcare or losing all your freedoms, according to what people were saying about Project 2025? What is the next step? So now you brought it back up and you made everybody alarmed and aware of it. And now they're going to just drop the whole healthcare argument because of the fact that you're bringing in the Project 2025 architect?
Well, for the first time in any modern political history, really, Republicans are on offense in this shutdown. Chuck Schumer did not shut down the government because he cared about healthcare. He shut down the government because he's facing a primary challenge from AOC. And he's nervous that Democrats are turning on him. And so he felt like he had to, quote unquote, do something. And Democrats walked right into a trap because not only were Republicans prepared to lay off thousands of federal workers, shut down some of these agencies under Project 2025, but the Democrats also apparently didn't realize that when they were calling for going back to the pre-CR spending before the spring deal that they made, that included health care for illegal aliens and funding for transgender surgery. So when they said, well, we're focusing on health care, they did that because pollsters told them that that was a popular issue. They didn't think about the fact that they had also taken healthcare positions that were wildly unpopular with the American people.
Yeah, I think what we're going to see happen is this kind, and we're talking about this in the next segment, so I don't want to go too far into it, but I think what we're going to see happen is Chuck Schumer really is, and I would agree with you there, he has a position to defend, and he knows that the Democrats are in a position where after losing the election in both Congress houses, you're kind of like, what is the party standing for? And if you know healthcare is a winning issue, maybe to resurface that energy around Obamacare for Democrats and get people excited about something again is better than nothing. As the government shutdown drags on, healthcare is at the heart of the debate, with both sides saying a lot. We'll be right back.